What's happened is that we've just generally, I think as a culture, we've just gone away from talking about negative things. So as a result of that, what's invariably happened is that we're talking about it less and less, and so we as the newer generation are less and less used to it as well. So criticism hurts a lot more, or any kind of setback, like you said, hurts a lot more. I don't know, I think it's like with anything else, it's just a matter of putting sort of one foot in front of the other and doing it. I think everybody kind of wants to be perfect, and everybody wants to be at the pinnacle, and reach their full potential, and that's really lovely. But at the same time, I feel like people are forgetting to be kind to themselves, realizing that things take time, setbacks happen, there's no one perfect trajectory. You're not going to get from point A to point B overnight. It takes time, it's a journey. So I feel like it's very important to be kind to yourself in the process of getting where you want to get, and trust that you will get there. I feel like now, you're reaching people in a way that you were never reaching people before. Everyone you know is in your phone. What they're doing is on your phone 24/7, where earlier you wouldn't know about that. There was like a blissful ignorance almost, where until you meet someone, until they say, hey, I went there last weekend, it was great, you didn't know where they went, you didn't know what they did. There's more FOMO because of it, because someone's at a party you're not at. Why wasn't I invited? Oh, look, that person's having a much better time. Oh, look, they're staying at a way better hotel than I ever stayed at. Oh, look, they've got such a nice car. Oh, what a great bag. It's an endless thing that you're constantly being fed, and it's available to you 24 hours a day. The comparison is available to you 24 hours a day, so you're constantly feeling like you're not going to match up. You're constantly feeling like you have to try very hard to match up, like it's the only thing that you should be doing is matching everyone's lifestyle, which is obviously not the case. Like even if you think back to when you were a kid and when we didn't have phones and we didn't have social media, I feel like we were so much happier because we didn't have constant points of comparison all the time. So yeah, it definitely, social media is a huge problem. And I feel like it's just a matter of sort of realizing that, again, like I said, everyone's got their own path. You can't compare. If you're going to constantly compare yourself to other people, we're all going to be very unhappy, and that's kind of why we are all very unhappy. I think I've always kind of wanted to be a writer. Like, I wanted to be a writer when I was quite young, so I feel like I've done that, and I've always worked on it in some way or the other. So my whole life I've written, whether it's just writing journals, whether it was script writing, whether it was helping people with their writing. I've always done it in some capacity, so I kind of feel like I have done it. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a vet, but I sucked at science, so they made me drop science in the 8th standard because I was really bad at it. So that didn't really materialize. But second was I wanted to be a writer, and it's worked out so far. So it's been both. Very honestly, it's been both, because I was writing about obviously things that were painful and writing about things that I didn't really want to revisit. I'd spent a long time trying not to think about really bad times in my life, so obviously going back to that was in a lot of ways quite hard, and it plunged me into about a 6-month depressive episode, again 10 kilos during writing the book, because I was it took me to a very dark place emotionally, but on the flip side, it has given me so much, and that's what I said earlier as well. I feel like sharing and talking about this has actually changed my life. It's changed who I am, because otherwise before that I felt like I was constantly hiding who I really am. I was hiding my insecurities, I was hiding all the things I'm afraid of. Now it's here, like everyone knows, so there's nothing for me. There's no hiding. I can't hide anymore. So I effectively sort of forced myself out into the open, and now I'm just whatever I am. So if I'm feeling nervous, if I'm feeling scared, I'll say it, versus trying to pretend that I have it all together. And it's so much easier. It's been so much easier. So it's been a very healing process. I've met a lot of wonderful people because of writing the book. I've spoken to some wonderful people. And it's taught me a lot about who I am. So definitely, I feel like in a lot of ways, the good has kind of way outstripped the 6 bad months that I had. I don't know. I don't know when I realized I had a knack for the craft. I guess I've always been a voracious reader. I've read my whole life. My father is a very good writer, so I used to work with him when I was younger. So I obviously imbibed a lot from him. To be very honest, I used to write poetry when I was 14, and when I read it the other day, I was like, this is the worst thing anyone has ever written. I've never, like, I really hope no one ever sees this. So I don't know when I realized I had a knack for it, but I guess I'm good with language because I've been a reader. And yeah, I mean, as a author, I mean, my process has been quite erratic on this book, so I don't really know what I'm going to be like on further books, because like I said, this book was a challenging one for emotional reasons. So I would wake up every morning at 5 and write from 5 to noon. That was work time for me. But the problem was that sometimes it would be very overwhelming, so I'd write for 2 days straight, and then day 3, 4, 5, 6, I couldn't do anything because I was too drained from it. Sometimes I would write for a week straight, but I had to keep taking breaks, so it was a very erratic process. I don't feel like I'll be like that when I write my next book. I feel like it'll be a easier process. So I guess I'm kind of still discovering what I'm like as an author, like my process as an author. Yeah, well, I'm working on my next book, which is also non-fiction, and I will continue to, hopefully, as long as I have things that I want to talk about, I will keep writing as much as I possibly can, because it's what I love doing. It'll get easier. I feel like it's the only thing that I would want to say to my 18-year-old self. It'll get easier, and you'll figure it out. It's been, I mean, just figuring this out for me has been a real process, and it's not, to be very honest, it's not until the last 3 or 4 years that I've actually started to get a handle on it and actually see progress, because it's taken a lot of trial and error for me. So again, if I were to say it to my 18-year-old self, I'd say it'll get easier and keep trying. Like, you have to just keep trying, it will get better. My campaign is called Here Comes the Sun. It's basically, right now, it's an online awareness campaign. Through it, we're trying to disseminate as much information as we can in what I feel like is a more palatable way, because I feel like, you know, reading medical jargon is it's quite tough to actually relate to it when you're reading about something like as a list of symptoms, versus if you're reading about it in a funny way, as a little comic, or as someone else sharing their story. I feel like it's a lot easier. So we're trying to disseminate information in a way that is easy for people to sort of relate to. We're trying to disseminate the right information, so that also means sort of providing people with as like being a bridge between, okay, you need a counselor, this is where you can find a list of counselors, these are online call centers, if you're feeling suicidal, this is, you know, who you can call, this is what you can do. So at this point, we're focusing largely on awareness through social media, but over the next year, we're planning to start with a lot of different on-ground activities, basically just to spread the message in as many different ways as we possibly can, and create a community, a self-sustaining community of people that can actually support, talk to each other, and be a safe space for people.